Hello guys, hello and welcome to myfinanceteacher.org. Check me out on the website, subscribe to this YouTube channel, stay in tune with all the investment themes we are talking about. And today we're going to talk about crude oil and the general stock market in search of some new investment opportunities. Having exited from all the precious metals trades with a really nice gain, by the way, we're now looking for some other investment opportunities. But the main theme of this video is that there might be an interesting opportunity brewing up in crude oil sometime in the more distant future. But at the moment, I don't really see anything particularly exciting. So the current intermediate cycle in crude oil has been going on since sometime in early June. Again, we have double bottom here on the 5th and on the 12th of June. But anyway, sometime since the beginning of June, we are within this new intermediate cycle in crude oil. The first daily cycle, unfortunately, gave back all of the gains that it originally had between early June and mid-July. That's really not a very good sign going forward within the current intermediate cycle. And as we see, the second daily cycle, which has been going on since early July, so far hasn't given us that much gains. This second daily cycle has already been going on for nearly a month, so it's not that young and it's not that old either, which means that it might still continue moving upward for a while within the advancing phase of that short-term daily cycle in crude oil. But on the other hand, it might also, in the next week, 2 or 3 weeks, might start its declining phase as well. So that's one of the reasons I don't really see anything particularly exciting on crude oil at the moment. Another reason why I think it might be a little too early to jump into anything drastic with crude oil is the fact that volatility is declining in crude oil over the last several weeks. If you squint a little bit, you can kind of work out this sort of a triangle on crude oil, especially if you kind of ignore this big candle on the 7th of August. Maybe that's really not a good idea, but say I ignore it for a moment. In that case, I do see some sort of a triangle over here with volatility gradually reducing. And as I mentioned in some of my previous older videos, in the investment markets, often we see periods of high volatility replaced with periods of low volatility. That also can be seen on the chart in terms of the Bollinger Bands. When the Bollinger Bands are squeezed narrow, that's when volatility is very low, and that's when it's almost time to switch to a high volatility regime, so to speak. That's when prices might jump either up or down. And a symmetrical triangle like this historically might break both, either on the upside or on the downside. At the moment, crude oil is struggling to keep or to close consistently above this 50-day moving average. That's the blue line here. Plus, we see a wick over here on the 5th of September, that wick over here which failed to close consistently above the upper trend line of this triangle. So it might be the case that crude oil might slide all the way down to the lower range of this triangle, again, over the next several days. So I think we still will be in this range of reduced volatility for crude oil for a week or two. And after that, there is a chance that we might break finally either on the upside or to the downside. If we actually continue within this triangle for the next several days, the duration of this daily cycle, which is the short-term cycle, might actually indicate that it would be time for crude oil to break below this lower triangle, giving us a daily cycle low sometime maybe in early October. And there might be at that time a short-term trade opportunity going into the bounce of the third daily cycle in crude oil, sometime into the heating season of November or December. That bounce might actually give us a retest of that breakout from the triangle, possibly followed by lower prices in future. I guess we'll have to see about that, but current intermediate cycle so far doesn't really look that strong. After all, all the way since early July, crude oil has been in the general downtrend line. Another thing to consider for crude oil is we should look at the stock market. There is often some sort of a correlation between crude oil and the stock market. Looking at the stock market, the current intermediate cycle that's been going on since the very early part of June is a little bit uncertain at the moment as well. So we clearly see the first daily cycle over here lasting for about a couple of months on the stock market. We're now in the second daily cycle within the longer intermediate cycle. This second daily cycle so far has also been going on for about a month. With S&P, it's actually a little more difficult to judge the normal duration of these daily cycles, shorter term cycles. So this cycle might still either continue for quite a while and even give us S&P above 3,000 over the next couple of weeks, especially going into the FOMC meeting. There might be some strength within the stock market. But on the other hand, we are poking through the upper range of the Bollinger Bands. If we do that several times, that might indicate that the prices are overheating a little bit, and we might possibly retest the lower range of the Bollinger Bands sometime after the FOMC meeting. Talking about the intermediate cycle, so far it's only been going on for 3 months. Generally, these last for about half a year. Again, not a very young cycle, not a very old cycle either, which unfortunately makes me somewhat uncertain whether this rally in the stock market will continue to be strong or whether it's nearly time to start a declining phase within the intermediate cycle. And looking at the expectations regarding a FOMC meeting in the middle of September, we see that the market generally expects interest rates to decrease by about 0.25%. Looking at this relatively large percentage here, that's nearly 94%, makes me think that once that 0.25% decrease in interest rate actually takes place, we might see a decline, at least within the short-term daily cycle in the stock market, because this high probability of 94% tells me that most of the expectation in terms of lower interest rates and easier policy has possibly already been priced into the market. So it's more like buy the rumor, sell the news scenario, when after the news we might actually see some selling in the stock market. Again, whether that selling will be drastic and whether that will be the beginning of the intermediate cycle decline, or if we're going to see a third daily cycle in the stock market giving us a higher high over the next couple of months, I'm not sure about that yet. That's why I'm also not really sure on the behavior of the crude oil. So for all of those reasons, at the moment, I'm not entering any trades in relation to either crude oil or the stock market. And we're still looking for other investment opportunities. If you have some ideas on that, let me know. In the future videos, I want to have a look at natural gas, for example. Some other interesting ideas we'll discuss as well. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button as well as the bell for those notifications, and good luck in your trades.